What's going on, everybody? It is Core Conversation for a Thursday, and I am rocking out my Terry Fox long sleeve tee as we have our Terry Fox run happening this weekend. So this, I'm not a quitter, and this. So much love to Dr. Tammy Francis. What's going on? Shannon, check out my tee. Bam. Fit for the call. The Terry Fox run is this weekend. Terry Fox did a run across Canada for cancer many years ago, and they're doing that. And this guy is doing the warm-up at Lake Aquitaine. So myself and my colleague are taking everyone through a Pilates warm-up prior to doing their run. So this is the ways that we get Pilates into the community. We talk about taking it beyond the studio. We talk about taking it beyond the mat, and getting plugged into the community in that way is good. So I'm excited about that. I'm so stoked that we are back in real life doing things for the community, and especially in Meadowville. Lake Aquitaine's a beautiful area, so we're gonna get some Pilates on for everyone who's running out there. So it's gonna be good. Yes, fit for the call. I am full of energy today. If you saw me yesterday, Gary, not so much. Not so much at all. We had a fantastic chat yesterday with Kaylin and Chapman, James, and Misty. So if you get a chance to watch a replay from yesterday, please do. Trish was there for a bit. Appreciate you. We talked about walking that confidence in some ways. So I'm going to touch on that in a moment. We also had Rob Dunbar on Friday, which I still haven't recapped just because it was such a great conversation. And Carrie's here, so Rob was on, and that was good. And actually, if you want to join me, Carrie, you can do so. Always welcome. Let me do a couple of things here. Hi, Jen. So join the... Oh, how are you feeling today, Carrie? I invited you yesterday and you were saying you were feeling sick. Jen, where are you located? I love having people I can't remember seeing in the chat before. I'm going to just do a couple things here. It was great having Nora on earlier this week as well. Nora's doing some amazing work. Okay, cool. And Carrie, thank you for joining us. Redefine a Pilates. Did you join me that day in the live? I think so. I can't remember. Yes. Now, we have had Kaylin. We've had some great guests of late, planned and unplanned. I was trying to pull together something for y'all today that might not gonna happen because it was so last minute, but and Patricia put something up here. Love to know from others how to get clients to show up on time, respect the time and the session. If you didn't read that, I'll read it one more time. And if you want to just answer the question in the chat or join me on live, that's the beauty of these freestyle conversations. So For those of you who are new out there, I do these core conversations every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's days where I have scheduled guests, and there's days when we do a freestyle Tuesday, freestyle Thursday, where people can just jump on, join me on the live, and talk things out. Patricia put a comment here and said, love to know from others how to get clients to show up on time, respect the time and the session. And now you can answer in the comment section, or you can join me on the live, like Carrie. So Carrie's just requested to join. I'm gonna bring her on now. If you wanna join us, jump in the conversation. I can bring you on. We can get up to 3 people on with us as well. And Carrie, let's jump in. Let's tackle this question first, and then I have some stuff for you. I'm gonna bring Carrie on.
Always.
Hey, I know.
Hello.
It always catch you like at the last. Okay, I still have some time, and then
Yeah,
you're
I'm like, I can get one. No, I can't.
you get too funny. How you feeling, my friend?
Better, thank you. I'm at the end of a shingles outbreak,
Wait.
so it just killed my immune system, and I was just done.
But you're a Pilates instructor. You're supposed to be indestructible.
Well, apparently shingles will take you out. It is not fun or comfortable in any way.
Yep, that's real talk. That's humanity. So PVE Design said, love to know from others how to get clients to show up on time, respect the time and the session. And actually, while we're answering that, Patricia, if you want to join us on screen, you're more than welcome to do so as well. So give me a thumbs up and I'll bring you on. But Carrie, what do you do in that situation? Like, I have my strategy, but I'd love to hear from you how you handle that.
I would say most of my people are pretty good about being about 4 to 5 minutes early, just because it takes them about 4 to 5 minutes to put on their toe socks.
Right.
So they're usually there, but I do have a couple people that end up showing like the sessions at 8 a.m. and they show up at 8 or 8:05. And I try and ask them politely to, we're losing time with you not being here because I still have to end at the same time. Yes. So it's like, in some ways, they're the ones losing out on their time. And so there's not, if that's their choice to lose out on time, then I kind of just, if it's over 10 minutes, I typically don't do the session. Because at my studio, a lot of their sessions, the way they've set up the studio, are half-hour sessions. So if you're 10 minutes late, well, okay, we really don't have that much time to do anything if you haven't done a class or a workout prior. You're not warm enough to do a lot of things. So they just lose time. And I try and politely explain that you're losing time and that's a waste of your money in that sense. But some of those people they're fine with that. And
they're fine with that. Yeah.
And I don't personally understand it. I'm the person that's like, if you tell me that something's at 9 o'clock, I'm usually there at least 15 minutes early, at least near where I'm supposed to be or already there. Like, I like to be walking in when I'm supposed to be, or early if possible.
Yeah,
but,
no, I have a client too who's like that, where it's like he's a half-hour personal training session, and he'll show up 12 minutes late for the half-hour session, which I hate half hours first, and then for him to be that late on it.
Yeah.
And I told him like we're about to get hard stop at 9:30 because I'm prepping for this show, so like there's no overage at all, and he's fine with that. So then it's like, okay, well, if you don't care, why do I care, right?
Right. Like, I'm not going to let that add or ruin my day.
Totally, because I get worked up over that, right? Like, I mean, I've had to like get to a place where I'm like, I can't, and I'm not talking about the worked up over him being late. It's the worked up over caring more about the workout than they do.
Yes. Yes. That's one of the reasons why when I started out doing more personal training as I was getting my Pilates certification, the place that I worked with, we were remote. So we would come to her house or we would go to other people's houses.
Yes.
So I stopped doing some of the early mornings because I was like, I'm leaving my house at 5 a.m. So I have a session with you at 5:30 and you can't be awake enough to open the door to let me in. And so I'm sitting in
I
the
would
driveway
be
like,
bent.
hi. You
Yeah.
told me not to ring the doorbell because there's other people that are sleeping, but you're not here. So I stopped doing the
Anyone else that's
traveling
happened
early
to?
mornings.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be so annoyed by that.
And these are people that lived like 30, 45 minutes away from where I was. So,
That's
I mean, I was
okay.
leaving my house at 5 a.m., being there, and
Yeah.
then being like, hello, and then driving all the way home. And I was like, all right.
That
That's the
sounds
times
like,
that it did bother me when people would not
yeah, for
answer the
sure.
door, or they would kind of nonchalantly look like they literally just rolled out of bed and were like, well, I need to get my coffee, and they're brushing their teeth. And I'm like, okay. I think that's the only time that it's really bothered me to the core of like, okay, I'm done. I'm sorry, I can't train you anymore. I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah, there's not a dollar amount that makes that worth
Mm-mm.
your
And I'm
time.
not a morning person in any way. Like I've adjusted my
Oh
schedule to
yes.
be like I have 6 and 6:30 a.m. clients, but I don't do before 6 a.m. anymore. Like if I have to.
I'd be too funny. Any other suggestions right out there, like how to get people to respect that time in the session? That is, there's not too much to really say on that. Like, I mean, you have the hard conversation, and then if they still are apathetic about their time slot, don't move don't slide it forward so they still got half an hour. Like, hard stop them at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the time, and then let them live with their 14-minute session. Like,
Right.
and then, but the other side of it is then don't tell them that you're training with me, because like if you have horrible results, and don't turn around and blame me
Right.
because you've done 26 minutes of workout this month. Like,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Not probably going to ask that person to write a referral.
no, no, I don't care about referral. Just don't tell when you're training with me. Like, don't like referral's fine. Like, just don't be like, oh, I work with Martin. They're like, you sure?
Are you
Like,
sure about
yeah, you sure
that?
about that? Like, I've seen how weak you are. No, yeah, no, it's fine. That's just like my personal beef with that.
Yes.
Yes, but that is actually not why I brought you on. We didn't talk about Rob's session last week, or his core conversation.
Yes.
I really, really enjoyed that. Yeah, so listen to a little bit more of it this morning again. I've been meaning to get back to it because there's certain conversations that I kind of just lean into, and his perspective on certain things. And like one of the things that I was listening to this morning was that piece around before even the confidence part, the part about how we look at the way that we train people. So like for
Mm-hmm.
him coming from ballet, there's a sense of this being another performance, right? And
Yes.
getting people to move and stuff like that in a good way. Like I'm not, we're not talking
Yeah.
performative, like just like hear my heart on that. And I was saying from a football sport perspective, like I feel like I'm coaching. Like when I'm in front of people, I'm the coach and I'm trying to get the team on the same page, doing the same thing, getting to the same goal of freedom of movement, strength, whatever it is that they're chasing after.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing the same thing, but it's
Yes.
informed by our past.
Yes.
Fun conversation. Um, for those of you in the chat, what was your past in that sense of a sport, a discipline? Like, and the reason why I say a discipline too is because I had a lady from Denmark on, and she was an engineer by trade, and then came into Pilates. So she's very scientific in the sense of just like the precision of the movement and understanding data and research and how that informs how she moves, and like learning styles and stuff like that. So that is her, like, and it's almost like everyone's like a lab experiment, right? Like everyone for me is a football player. Everyone for him is a ballet student, right? Like there's a sense of those things informing how we teach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just interesting and how we all have a kind of a different approach or perspective of how we go about it, but we're all going to the exact same goal.
Yeah.
Which is what I love.
Absolutely.
That's what I love about teaching with my own workouts and going and having a class with this person and then having a class with this person. And it's like, oh, wow. Like they're two totally different approaches of their teaching of Pilates, but wow, I learned so much about myself and my own thoughts about teaching from this person. And then this person was like, oh, I didn't think about that. Why did I not think about that?
Yeah.
So that's what I love about that kind of perspective. Or even working with clients and being like, okay, well, that exercise isn't working for you, but let's try it this way. And it's like, oh, wow. Okay. Wow. We're going to progress and grow from that exercise and see how this develops with you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's so funny because that in the purest form is diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, we talk about diversity, but that's diversity of thought and approach and method.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it so great, and it's so important. Yeah. So anyway, just celebrating that for a moment. I thought it was fun.
Yes.
I thought it was a good perspective on it. And then we got to the confidence piece, which ties into about 3 of our last guests. So, so Rob was talking about that confidence in terms of coming from being an experienced ballet dancer to a teacher, and then bringing that experience and walking with that confidence of everything you've carried from your lived experience into teaching. And then secondly, we had Nora talking about teaching Pilates with disabilities and people judging her movement, her gait, for example, not understanding how she is very intelligent and very welcoming and inclusive in her movement, very intentional. And then even yesterday too, with Kaylin coming in and her background in, you know, being a Miss Alabama and being a media personality and stuff like that, and teaching for 5 years in Pilates, I was encouraging her yesterday, like, you know, don't let anyone despise your youth. Like, don't look at it like I'm just a baby teacher. Afterwards, I was talking with someone and they were saying, like, what other industry with 5 years under your belt are you still considered a rookie? Why is that a thing in the Pilates industry, that 5 years still makes you a rookie, still makes you a novice? Like, if you're working at a bank in 5 years, you're middle level management, but in Pilates world, you're considered a newbie and not worthy of X, Y, or Z. How did we get there?
I don't know, because I would say I fall in that guilty same category. I mean, I've been teaching Pilates since 2006, and I still feel like not an apprentice by any means, but I'm like, I'm just kind of right here. Like, I still feel like the new, the baby teacher, if you will. And I don't know why, but I do. So I resonated with that. I was like, okay, well, you've been teaching less than I have, and you feel that way, and I feel that way, and I've been teaching this way, and okay.
Right.
But I think it is something, a part of the Pilates world. I don't know if you have to be teaching for 20 years or what.
What's the threshold?
What's the theory or the
I'm like
thought
openly
behind that?
sighing just thinking about this right now. Like, it just like, like, yeah. Hi, Helen Hayes. You just joined us in the middle of a rant and a vent. So that was a reflection of yesterday. It's like you know, she's confident in herself, but still, it's like our wording, right? Like, I can, you know, front like I'm so confident. This is what we could do. This whatever. But then in certain rooms, I'm like, well, I've only been teaching for 5 years. Well, I only teach at Club Pilates. Well, I only did this. Well, and you're diminishing your achievements. You're diminishing your knowledge, skills, and abilities because you're afraid someone's going to call you out for only having 5 years. I'm not calling out Kaylin on that, but I'm just saying, like, that mindset is prevalent everywhere.
Yes, and I'm not sure where that came from, but it seems to be over the board of almost every Pilates instructor I've met, whether Or I'll even say it's almost a two-way street on that. Is there some Pilates instructors that haven't even finished their mat certification? They're like, I'm going to open a studio and I'm going to have reformers and Cadillacs and chairs. And like, you haven't even learned how to use the other equipment yet. I mean, brave, good for you, I guess. I'm not going to sit here and tell you you can't do that. But I never would have thought in the first 3 years of my career of even opening a studio. I'm like, I don't know anything enough to, let alone run or have other teachers below me or with me. I wouldn't want to say below me, but a part of my group. So it's very interesting. There's like some people that are like, oh, well, I have one certification in just one piece and I'm ready to go for it. And good for them. I'm not disregarding that. And then there's the rest of us who are like, I've been teaching for 15 years and I'm still an apprentice.
In 6 years, I'll be ready to take my first class. Right. You know, like, right, exactly. So I mean, like, both can be erroneous. And I feel like I've met people on the show that are like, so let me get this straight. So you taught for a year and then you open a studio. I'm like, yeah. And you're like, and it's going well? Yeah. And you got some mentors? Yeah. Next question, right? Like, you're like,
okay.
okay. Yeah. So, I don't know. False humility.
Yes. Very much so.
Sometimes. Sometimes people just like wanting the approval of someone who would put someone under their thumb like that, too.
Yes. Fascinating. Let's think about that.
Yes. Because I mean, there's lots to be said for learning. Like, where I'm like, that's a whole separate conversation. Like, I think you should always be learning. Like, I love that story of that violinist, like the 80-year-old concert violinist, that he practices every day. And in a newspaper article, they asked him, why do you still practice every day? You've accomplished everything. You've got all these medals and awards. And his response was, because I perceive that I'm getting better.
And that's the ultimate goal of exactly. I mean, no matter what you're doing, whether it's Pilates teaching, it's being a parent, like hopefully we're always striving to keep learning and growing in that environment, whatever it is. Otherwise, we're just going to become plateaued, stagnant, bitter people.
I like how you slid the bitter.
Well, I feel like a lot of people, they just feel like this is as far as I'm going and I don't need to do this. And just in general in life they become what I refer to as just like the crab in the barrel mentality of I'm going to be angry at this person because they have this or they have this or they did this and I didn't get this. And it's like, but you never tried to do that. So why are you angry at that person? Yeah.
Why are you trying to pull them back down?
Right. Don't tear them down. Pull yourself up.
Yep. I know. It's like, well, I think we covered that pretty good. I'll start with Rob yesterday, Friday. We're talking about movement, confidence. I can't remember. There was something else in there that conversation. I was like, I gotta write that down. What was it? Did you watch the whole thing? Where you were like kind of in and out on it?
I was watching.
Like, that's my man.
See what he was gonna say.
I can't remember. I can't remember.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Yes. Well, anyway, so it was good overall. I want to have another conversation with him and just unpack that, because I know he was talking about his app and just like some of that movement stuff and like what the next steps look like. So I always like having those conversations and just seeing how people evolve with their business, because sometimes you run with something and then sometimes you start on that and then you find like making a sharp left turn is like the opportunity, and then it grows in a different way, and that's so fun too when that happens, right?
Yes, very much so.
How much of that are you involved in terms of that app stuff, or are you just focusing more on
most of it is he's doing it for me, with me.
Okay.
Because like I wanted to do just like fun Pilates shirts and fun inspirational shirts, just because I couldn't, when I was looking during the pandemic, I wanted to get the other teachers just some fun shirts, like just kind of uplifting during that time. And so I found
Yes.
a local guy who made some shirts that's really a big part of our community. And then I made just some other shirts that were just talking about peace and love and Pilates for them. Just again, like a little like, hey, yay, we're still going. Happy thoughts. And then I was like, what? There aren't that many of the
Right.
shirts out there that I could find easily. And then I was like, I'm just going to start making some own. And then with the Pilates studio that I work out now, I work so much and I had this beautiful time after my first child that I only worked like every other day. So Tuesday and Thursday, I worked like 8 or 10 hours. But I had the
Yes.
day off the next day, so I could do whatever I wanted. And now our studio's open 6 days a week, and I'm there 5 days a week because
Yes.
I went in for maternity leave for another teacher, and then all of a sudden, all these people started coming in, and my schedule was full. And I was like, "What happened to my
Yeah.
days off?" I was like, "Nobody's taking
Well,
my Friday though. Friday is my
funny.
day."
Yeah. So
And so I
Carrie,
was realizing that with my schedule being so full, I have a wait list of people. And then I have another group of people that want to train with me, but they don't have necessarily either the financial or the time to come in. So I was like, okay, well, I need to create an app workshop thing that they can do, that they can still have accessibility to what I can
Yes.
give them. And
Right.
so I've been working on that. And it was something I wanted to do during the pandemic, but I had just had my second baby and my other one was 2. So it was kind of like, I'm just going to enjoy this time with my babies right
Yeah.
now while I
I'm gonna try
can. And
breathe.
I'll get there
Yes.
when I get there. I have time. It's fine. I'm going
Yeah.
to study and just enjoy my kids. So now it's like,
Yes.
okay, I got to do stuff. I'm doing stuff. I had all these ideas. Now I got to do them.
Yep. So funny. See, if you were like a mediocre teacher, you wouldn't have this problem. Like people wouldn't be trying to get in your schedule. So
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
it's a backhanded compliment.
I hope I'm not just a mediocre teacher.
Yeah. Patricia's saying the struggle is real. Every studio has a flux of teachers and clients.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a student come in yesterday, a lady who is kind of new to Pilates and just teaching mat and is yet to do her like other apparatus in her studies. And I'm like hopefully going to start mentoring her and grooming her to be able to take on some clients in the studio here.
Yeah.
So she's done one cert and that was her first time on equipment, not even like Grotz equipment, like equipment period.
Oh, wow.
So it's so fascinating seeing, like I had a yoga person, I'm going to call them bodies. I had a yoga body yesterday and I had a provincial level gymnast last week.
Mm-hmm.
And to see both of them just shake.
Yes.
Like it's just so new for the body. Like if I was to go bowling today for like a tournament, I'd be sore beyond belief tomorrow.
Yes.
It's not just away from my fitness level, it's just new, right? And I
Right.
see that. I just use that analogy all the time because it's just new. Your body just doesn't know what to do with it. But just hooked on it, right? I love that. I could do it all day. Just
Yes, that's always that thing. That's one of the joys of our jobs is seeing that little light bulb going off of like, okay, I thought I was pretty physically fit. What is happening? It's like, well, see, your big muscles aren't able to take over on this one. You have to find some of those smaller muscles with your bigger muscles, not just letting your quads do everything.
Yes.
And so it's just it's a whole different perspective of that, and it's always fun to watch that little light turn on of like, oh, maybe I do have some other things I could work on or do this or do that or just little things. Yeah. It's fun.
Yep. And being like the fit guy, like they figure, okay, this guy's going to crush me with his workout. And then I'd like challenge them in their mobility somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that they weren't ready for. I was like, oh, you like to flex from your low back? Let's see what your thoracic spine can do. Nothing?
Yes. That is also one of my joys of our jobs. Like, okay, let's try this. And then just that, why is that so hard? Because you never use those muscles.
Yes.
You don't try and move in that direction. As
Yes.
long as your body allows you and your toolbox is allowing you to do that, then let's manipulate and mold you for the best life that you can live.
Yes. Yes. PVE design. Do your kids think that you don't work? Like, yeah.
No, they know I work because they're like, they'll come pick me up from work, and the first thing my daughter will say to me is, "How was the studio today? How are your clients? How is everybody?" Because she always hear, I'll tell Rob of like, "Oh my goodness, this person, they were 10 minutes late to their half-hour session," or,
Yes.
"Oh my goodness, this person who has rods in their spine and a hip replacement and this and is having neurological issues. She stood on one leg today and it was amazing." So she hears these little stories.
Yes.
And
Very cool.
I'm going to post it probably later today in time lapse, but I tried to get my mat workout in, and I took my mat outside so I could get just something while they were playing, and it's just, yeah, that's what happened. I ended up doing like squat bicep curls with my son because he kept climbing on me, and I'm trying to do kneeling sidekick series and they're both hanging on my leg. So they know what I do and that they love being up in this area. Like they're like, "Oh, I know what to do with these weights. I lift them up." Or they're trying to get on my chair, and I'm like, no, you're not old enough yet for the chair. You're not tall enough is the big part of it. So they do understand that mommy does something with movement.
Yes.
And they're not necessarily don't know that it's Pilates, but that's what mom does is movement.
It's just, yeah. I think I felt the twinge in my glute when you said sidekick series with a kid hanging off your foot. So I was like, oh. Hey.
Yes, my leg went much lower. It was touching the ground now instead of being up a little bit higher. Because they don't gently lay on things. It's like a full tackle, especially my son.
That's so funny.
Because yes, my rib is finally back in place from him. Because he karate chopped me with a book and popped my top rib out. And I was just like...
Did he really?
Yeah. Like it took some manual therapy, and then I actually rolled over right before I fell asleep, and it went pop right back in place. And it was one of those pops of, okay, everything's still functional. I'm okay, because it was loud enough that I was worried.
Like feeling your fingers, making sure your toes still move.
Sensory. All right, I'm good. But yeah, he's my little tackler. That's what he does.
It's good. That's why we do Pilates.
Yep.
Take someone
Keeps
jumping
you on your toes.
Yeah.
Why I lift weights as well, because they're not getting any lighter, and they like to be picked up a lot for just presses and stuff. It's funny.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Kara, I'm gonna jump off here.
All right.
We're back at it. I'm not sure. I think I have a guest tomorrow. I need to double check that and check it out.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's good. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, cool. Take care, and I'll see you.
Yes, talk soon. Hey, Carla, how are you? Yeah, so that was a good the conversation with Nora yesterday, 2 days ago, tying into the conversation with Caitlin as well. Those connections, those confidence pieces are things that we need to kind of keep at the forefront of our mind as we go into different situations. How do we carry ourselves? Rob, that was it. When you're saying like moving like every guy wants to be and every woman wants to dance with you in the ballet space, and just having that confidence with what you do, and how do you carry that confidence and that present in that way, in a way where people are inspired by your movement, inspired by your teaching, inspired by your thought process and the way you approach different situations. So that's good. So it's beyond that, just a physical confidence, and into that sense of like inspiring the next as well. So that was a piece, Carrie, that I was kind of searching for in my thoughts there. So hi, Natasha. So yeah, so that being said, we're jumping off. Tomorrow we're back at it for another conversation as always. I had some fun doing something different yesterday. On my other page, kind of in my other world as a community worker, I'm running for city council in Mississauga, Ward 9. And yeah, so I gotta say something in a second. Natasha, where are you located? I always like love seeing new people in space. Um, yeah, so I did a Ward 9 conversation at 8:30 at night last night and had great people in the chat. I did it on Facebook and it was a live conversation. None of the people actually came on screen, but there's lots of interaction with 25 plus people, 24 or 5 people in the chat. Got lots of emails and comments and people on the Nextdoor app and other people there. Okemos, Michigan. That is where Pilates dwell. Kevin Latigas. No? That's Latigas space, I believe. Can you confirm? So I did that. So we did our Award 9 conversations. It went fantastic yesterday. I'm not bragging. I'm just making a point that the things that we do somewhere else set up the next thing. There's a culmination of the work that we do because I was able to go on to Facebook, navigate questions in the chat, check to see if somebody put a poll question up, see who was in the room, invite people onto the live, and yeah, so those are the things that we do, and they carry over to other areas. So Natasha, message me after. I'd love to connect with Kevin as well. I know I've been reaching out to him, and yeah, I'll give a call after. But yeah, message me directly afterwards, and we can chat about our friend Teague. So it's just interesting, and it was pretty seamless. Like it was a conversation that happened earlier in the day about the need for some kind of community town hall, and sometimes we need to take messy action. Sometimes we need to do something quick and organic as opposed to something long-term and polished, because we want to have that interaction while it's still fresh in people's minds. So I was willing to do that, and I really encourage all of you to do that sometimes. Don't wait for every opportunity and the stars to align and the wind to be coming in from, the southwest at 47 knots. Like, just let everything just be and just go and see how it turns out. And if it doesn't turn out, like, I could have had 0 people show up and been on for 3 minutes. And the funny thing is, I was in a setting where there was somebody that had been following me on my Read for Ward 9 page, and they were saying that they saw me do a live, and then I turned it off. So someone had saw my live, messaged that person, said, "Hey, Martin's doing a live," and by the time they got there, it was over. I did like maybe 9 minutes, sat there like just twiddling my thumbs. No one showed up, and it bounced. So I just left. I just logged off. And this guy was like, "I just turned on and I missed you." It's like, so if I turned on, maybe I stayed on, then maybe he would have told some other people, maybe it'd been great, maybe more people have gone. Or I can just chalk that up to a failure and be like, okay, well, I'm going to try again next time. And sure enough, first time was like 0 people in 10 minutes. And the second time was like over an hour, over 25 people, and people following up on me today. So just go with it. That's like, just keep being persistent, repeating those actions, because they're coming from a good place. They're coming from a place of good intent. Nothing really goes wrong. You can learn from it. I did a little bit more of a runway, made a couple more posters, made a couple more announcements, and did it. And it turned out, that worked out well. So refine your process, do it, rinse and repeat, do it again. All right, coffee's done. Natasha messaged me right afterwards. Love to get you going here. I'd love to chat with you. And Carrie, thank you for joining me. Thank you to everybody else. Yeah. Natasha, she's saying exactly needed this message. That's it. I mean, I hope that resonates with you, and just find the boldness to do it. Just who cares if it doesn't go as planned the first time? Do it. It's like a wedding. wedding planning. Like when the actual wedding goes down, people are going to tell you they had an amazing time, and only the wedding planner knows what didn't happen. Just roll with it. Still a celebration of your movement, your action, your intent. Just go with it. All right, party people, we are out. Back at it tomorrow, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.